Hey everybody, welcome to the Hall H Show podcast. We are at Stan Lee's LA Comic Con, and we happen to walk by this booth, zombies,
Kudzu Zombies.
Kudzu Zombies. I'm here with the writer of Kudzu Zombies, Christian Hokenson. Welcome to the show, Christian.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, and if it wasn't for your buddy David over there, we probably wouldn't have come by.
Dave Robertson, thank you very much.
So that's one thing that most people that go to cons or people who exhibit at cons, make sure you got your hustle on, because
Absolutely.
it helps.
It does help. Yeah.
So I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Oh yeah, your comic book.
Yeah.
Kudzu Zombies. Do you want to sort of maybe go into it a little bit?
Yeah. So basically, the comic book is a prequel to our movie that's coming out in March, directed by Mark Newton, written by myself, and it's called Attack of the Southern Fried Zombies, and it concerns a zombie infestation in Charleston, Mississippi, and what happens when the Mose Allison Blues Festival, things kind of go haywire. People eat the meat pies. The meat pies have goat meat in them. The goats have been eating the kudzu, and Globo Biotech has been spraying the kudzu with their kudzu killer Quadoxin. Things go absolutely haywire. It's full of gore, full of fun moments. It's a horror comedy. There's our Quadoxin barrel right there. Yeah. And the comic, as I said, is a prequel that details what happens at a Beaumont, Texas Globo Biotech facility where they're just starting to make the Quadoxin.
So what exactly is kudzu? Is that a vine?
Yeah. Kudzu is a vine from Japan that was imported over here to the U.S. For a variety of different reasons. Some of it was just what you would call cosmetic landscaping, things like that. And it just got completely out of hand. It took over the South. It chokes out the life out of everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So this prequel, how many arcs are in it? Is it just a one shot, or is
right now the prequel comic is the single comic. After the movie opens in March, we'll be serializing the comic.
Oh, okay.
And then thereafter, we plan on sequelizing it as well, and going, because it is an ensemble piece with different characters. We have characters, some appear in this comic, but more appear in the movie, and those characters will go deeper into depth with when we sequelize it.
You want to sort of maybe go through the main cast of characters?
So basically, in this comic, we have Quince, who's a Globo Biotech. Thank you very much. Yeah. He's a Globo Biotech researcher who really doesn't know kind of knows what he's doing, but is a little klutzy in what he's doing. And he sprays the Quadoxin all over him, gets sick, and unfortunately for the Globo Biotech Quadoxin division, things go really to hell real fast. And it's a bloody good time. We have our Doctors Fukushima and Dr. Klein that appear in the movie. They're in the movie, played by Miles Doliak, and Kiyomi here plays Fukushima, and she's great. He's fantastic.
Now, before you go on, was the last name Fukushima done on purpose?
In a way, yeah. In a sense, one of my producers came to me and said, wouldn't it be great, because of everything that's happening in the world? And yes, because this does talk about a Monsanto-like company. I probably shouldn't say that. And, Fukushima happened. So we tap into those fears.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right.
So, yeah.
Cool. And obviously you said this was a prequel to the movie.
Yes.
And you wrote the movie as well?
I wrote the movie as well.
Okay.
Was the screenwriter on it. Mm-hmm. And the comic book itself, I wrote and I edited, as a matter of fact.
So how much time passed between the movie and the prequel comic book?
Actually, hardly any time. It goes right into the next day of the movie, because our researchers land in Charleston, the Fukushima and Klein, and they're ready to go do field testing. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, their mentor, Dr. Martino, who has gone through the whole zombie infestation in the lab while they're not there, he actually, the company, Global Biotech, silences him. Let's say they silence him,
mm-hmm.
and terminally. Yeah.
So I guess maybe just if we can sort of rewind a little bit. your ideas leading up to the movie and the comic book. Like, how did you come up with them?
Well, the story, Dan Wood, my producer, he had the story and a title, just Kudzu Zombies. And at first, I kind of laughed and said, okay, he wanted it to be a very scary movie. And I was like, with the title like Kudzu Zombies, maybe we should go the horror comedy route. And I want to flesh out the characters some more. There was some input from the producers on where they want to go with it. But I was given free rein to write a lot of it. The director, actually, Mark Newton, took a first pass at it himself. And I just, we thought, why not just kind of broaden our horizons a bit? And at first it was more of like a Night of the Living Dead type thing. We decided to go and open up the world a little bit, open up the town. And
so what's the tone like? Is it sort of like Shaun of the Dead, like that kind of?
It's Shaun of the Dead in the sense, we do some homages to George Romero. I mean, there wouldn't be zombie movies without the late great George Romero.
Right.
And in fact, this comic is dedicated to George Romero, Bernie Wrightson, and the late Michael C. Gross, who was the executive producer of Ghostbusters, who I knew as a kid and who got me kind of started in an interest in filmmaking.
So I guess we can go into that. Like, how were you as a kid? I want to get to know you as a
kid. I was a burgeoning makeup artist. I actually used to do special effects makeup, scare my neighbors, and then the neighbors would knock on my door like a week before Halloween and go, "You're doing our makeup, right?" And I'd be like, "Yeah," and everything. And I had a love of comic book movies. I had a friend of mine, Paul Avila, a childhood friend, who is also named in this comic. Dr. Avila is a character in the comic. I decided to reference him because we grew up watching movies together, watching horror movies and loving it. Me and my sister, my mom got me started watching horror movies. One of the first horror movies I ever saw, she took us to a double feature of Irwin Allen's The Swarm and The Manitou.
The Manitou.
The Manitou.
Oh wow! I don't think I've seen that one.
Tony Curtis was in it.
Tony Curtis.
Yeah.
Oh wow!
And it's about India. It wouldn't pass muster nowadays, but it was about an Indian medicine man who's born out of a woman's back, a tumor on her back.
Oh my gosh!
Scared the crap out of me when I was a kid, and I just loved it though. It scared me, but I loved it. And my dad used to take us to see like Halloween 2, things like that.
Oh, okay.
And so apparently they didn't care about ratings.
I love that first Halloween movie.
Yeah, so we got to. I grew up with it. I grew up with.
Where did you grow up?
Comics and with. I grew up in Burbank, California. Actually.
Oh, not too far from here.
Yeah, not too far from here at all. And so it's always been a love of movies in general, but definitely the horror genre, fantasy genres, things like that, and just the personalities, the people that gave it, like Rick Baker, makeup artist, Rob Bottin, makeup artist, Tom Savini, directors like George Romero, like John Carpenter, and just all of them. They're fantastic. So yeah.
So growing up, you're doing makeup, and how did you segue to writing?
To writing, because it was cheaper to write than to make movies. Until I met Dan Wood, who actually I was doing some script coverage for him, and I would tell him, this script here's what I would do with it. So he gave me a chance with Kudzu Zombies, and that was fantastic, which we now name Attack of the Southern Fried Zombies.
Okay.
But I've been screenwriting since I was in my 20s. I did a movie called Capital Punishment that was like I had to end up on Cinemax at one point, But then I was laying low for a while because you got to make ends meet, and got back to it. Once I'm almost like feeling like semi-retired and ready to get back to creative work. And so I've been writing. I never stopped writing, but it won't always feed you. It won't always put a roof over your head. Everybody loves the arts, but they're not always willing to support the arts.
Speaking of like supporting the arts. Obviously, is this your full-time gig now, a writer?
Yeah, very much so. We're going to be working on a movie. We have, in a comic book, we're doing a graphic novel based on a concept we have called American Carnage. You might have heard about it when Donald Trump spoke about it as an infamous inauguration. And so, I want to take we're going back to the South, to Mississippi area. It's about a guy who, an African-American man who's had enough of being put down by, white men, by the law and everything, and he decides to, get some revenge. It's gritty, it's bloody, it's of the times, and hopefully it speaks to people in a way, that, it's not the greatest America we have right now. We could do some work,
You can call it Make America Great Again.
Yeah, it's going to be make horror comics great again, make horror movies great again. So yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things. But we want to get, right now we're focusing on Attack of the Southern Fried Zombies.
Yeah.
And definitely we think there's an audience for it. It's, if you love Shaun of the Dead, if you love those old Lucio Fulci movies, if you love George Romero movies, if you love, just the craziest, Juan of the Dead was a great one I loved.
Juan of the Dead.
Juan of the Dead was actually a great movie, a lot of fun. We're in that vein where, we think we're a movie that you can pop in and feel good about spending your time, your couple of hours with us.
So, when is it going to be out?
It's going to be out in March.
Okay.
And we're releasing on multiple platforms. We hope to have some theatrical release. We'll definitely be on iTunes, Amazon, VOD. We'll have a Blu-ray and DVD release as well.
Cool. That's, I guess, the beauty of internet. You can have more options to sort of push out your projects.
Absolutely, yeah. Nowadays, you can communicate with fans. Social media is it's invaluable, actually, because if you have a one-on-one rapport with your fans, they're your life's blood, basically. They're what keep you going. Mm-hmm. I write for fans. I write for people that love this stuff.
Cool. If there's somebody out there who sort of wants to write for their fans as well,
mm-hmm.
What kind of advice can you give to that person?
Well, first, a writer writes. So if you're gonna, want to be a writer, write. And it doesn't matter if you think it's any good. You're really writing for other people. Definitely write for yourself, entertain yourself. But I wouldn't worry about, oh, it's so bad that I'm not going to finish it. Finish it and then decide, edit it, how you're going to do it and everything. I mean, just got to plow ahead. You got to plow ahead, not let things get in your way.
So how do you stay organized? Like, are you more creative? Or productive in the morning? Like, how do you keep track of your time?
Definitely productive in the morning. I like to write in the evening as well.
Okay.
I like to, when I write, one of the two tricks I have. One, I do a lot of free writing because the blank page can be your friend or your enemy.
Okay.
And writer's block, happens when you're concentrating so hard on getting it right or finding out that magic thing that you write about. Whereas if you free write and just go la-di-dum and write about whatever, something's going to come to you eventually. It's going to flow, stream of consciousness, and you'll go, oh, that works, and that might be what you go with. The other thing I do is I create little soundtrack albums,
Okay.
So I take some of my favorite music or music I haven't really heard before that matches the mood of something, and I just kind of, what if it was a movie? Even though I'm just writing it out, might be a novel, might be a comic book, I get myself in the mood, get myself in where I want to be, the space I want to be with music.
What kind of comic books did you read when you were younger?
I read a lot of Batman. I love The World's Greatest Detective. I think he's, one of my favorites. Walking Dead's one of my favorites too. I mean, Robert Kirkman, Charlie Adlard, they do a lot of great stuff with that. They're huge Romero fans. They respect it. They respect the whole thing. And I like that because, not that I'm not a fan of fast zombies or other forms of zombies, and zombies have great history and everything, but I just love the Romero style. They're coming to get you. There's not much you can do about it. You can run, you can't hide. But I mean, that's definitely it.
So if there was a Mount Rushmore of comic book creators, what four people would you put on there?
Gosh, probably definitely Stan Lee.
Okay.
Jack Kirby, absolutely. I put Bill Finger up there because absolutely. And number 4, I don't know. I'd like to think I'd put, maybe Michael Gross there. He was an illustrator. He worked with heavy metal, and he's the one that did National Lampoon.
Okay.
National Lampoon, it's not a comic book, but it's such a huge influence on the way a lot of people's attitudes are, because I think it allowed people to let go. Heavy metal and National Lampoon, they kind of broke the doors open in the way The Exorcist did for movies or Bonnie and Clyde did for movies, in that it's not just for kids anymore, it's for adults. Anything goes, anything goes. And so I think he should be up there too, because he was a big influence on a lot of people.
Oh.
If you ever saw that National Lampoon cover, Buy This Magazine or We'll Kill This Dog, that was his baby.
Okay, sounds familiar.
Yeah. So big influence.
Nice. Seeing as how you're sort of, this is your jam now, right? This is your baby, and you're able to support yourself. What kind of advice can you give to people who want to make it their calling, their business? How can you? What kind of advice can you give to somebody who's on that edge of taking their passion or hobby to that next level?
Do it. Put as much time as you can into it. I mean, nobody says that you can't be doing other things, but your absolute focus should be on what you're doing. Because if that's your passion, you gotta, live it, sleep it, bleed it, sweat it. You just gotta do it. Mm-hmm. You don't let things get in your way. There are people that tell you can't do things in life. Ignore them. Do it. Let something find its audience. There's a guy, I forget his name at the moment. He did a comic called Gregory. And it's not the most elaborate comic in the world. It's not the best strong comic in the world. But I always loved it because his attitude was so wise-ass. And I kind of admire that, And so that, I think that's what you got to do. You just kind of got to find your niche audience,
And a lot of people that we've talked to recently, they've had these creative teams that sort of come together from around the world to help out. So, how did you find your creative team?
Absolutely. Well, Anthony Wolf came highly recommended to us. We checked him out. I really liked his stuff. He does a comic book called Relics. That's a lot of fun. It's one of the most fun fantasy comic books I've ever read.
Okay.
It's tongue-in-cheek. It's great. As beautifully as he draws this, Relics is even more beautifully drawn in many ways.
Nice.
Because it's his baby. It's his passion. So he came on board. We established really good rapport right off the bat. He lives in Salt Lake City, and I live here in LA. And we, there were certain things that we decided on along the way. I did edit the comic, so he would show me his pencil drawings. He'd show me his ink drawings, and I'd say, hey, we just got to change this a little bit, make this person look a little more like the character in the movie, perhaps.
Okay.
And he was on the ball the whole time. He was great to work with, easy to work with, and a lot of fun. And then he brought on Danica Sills, who was our colorist. They're actually here. That's Anthony, that's me, and that's Danica.
Nice.
That's our creation, Quentin.
Okay.
Quince. And Danica added some I don't know if you can hold that
Sure.
again. Look at the color in this. She added some beautiful sunsets. This is our evil GPT CEO, Seaforth. She made everything like a flashback, look really good. We decided to go with some interesting colors. And then right back to our town in Charleston. Moses Mosley, who's in Walking Dead, appears in our movie, and we put him in the comic with Scotty Whitehurst, who also does a lot of cons. He plays Link a lot at cons, and so she did some great work.
Link from Zelda?
Yeah,
Okay,
he's awesome. He's amazing. And so she did some great work. The coloring we absolutely love. Anthony did some beautiful renderings and just it all came together beautifully.
Cool. Well, thank you for the interview.
Thank you.
And do you think do you have anything that do you have anything that do you think our audience would like to know about that we missed?
That you missed?
Yeah.
Well, as we said, the movie's coming out in March, multiple platforms. It's the kind of movie that you get friends together, for a good time. If you're really into MSTK, if you're really into riff tracks, things like that, you'll have a good time riffing on our movie. It's not a straight ahead horror film, but there's a lot of gore. It's a lot of fun. It's the kind of movie that if you don't like horror movies, you might like this one. Yeah.
And where can people find you online?
Online, you can find us on Facebook and on Twitter. Facebook, right now, we're Attack of the Southern Fried Zombies, also known as Kudzu Zombies. On Twitter, we're at Real Kudzu Zombies, and we're also on Instagram as well. You just have to find us, Kudzu Zombies or Attack of the Southern Fried Zombies.
Cool.
Yeah, and we have an online presence as well. Visit our website.
All right.
It's kudzuzombies.com.
We'll definitely do that. Well, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Peace, cheers. Talk to you later.
All right, take care. Peace.
All right.